Hello, I'm Chandler with Giant Las Vegas, Giant Henderson. Thank you for purchasing your bicycle. Your new bike has been assembled and repackaged at our facility to ensure all components are in excellent working condition. The following instructions should be adequate to install the remaining basic items so that you can enjoy your bicycle for many years to come. The tools you will need depend on the level of assembly your specific bike requires, but in general, you will need Allen or hex keys, a small torque wrench or torque key, this is optional, bike grease, carbon assembly paste if your bike has carbon parts, and a bicycle pump. If any of the bike's components are carbon fiber, it's important to use a torque wrench or key so that you apply the correct amount of force, Newton meters or Nm, often marked on the part itself, when tightening the bolts. With the box in the upright position, you're going to open the box from the top to ensure that you can get into your bicycle. Lift the bike, the front wheel, and the handlebars from the box and remove any of the protective packaging. Check the box or the manual or any of the paperwork, as well as any small parts may have been boxed separately. Make sure you keep those in a safe location because you may need them later. So I'm going to take this bicycle out of the box. I'm going to make sure that I find all of my extra spare parts. They should be located in a box like this. Make sure nothing else is in the box. Slide that out of the way. You want to go ahead and remove the wheel from the initial packaging. So I'm just going to set this aside. Removing the wheel allows me to put the bicycle up in the bike stand without being obstructed. Once you get your bicycle in a working position, I'm going to go ahead and take off all of the protective packaging that was used during shipping. Once you've unpackaged your bicycle, we're going to first put the handlebars on. Now, your bicycle might come in a couple of different ways. This one has the brake and the dropper post lever unattached to the handlebars. Some bikes might have them pre-attached to the handlebars. I'm going to show you how to attach them to the handlebars after we mount them to the stem. It's important to check the size of the bolt for the Allen key that matches that particular bolt. In most cases, it will be either a 3mm, a 4mm, or a 5, but just make sure that you check the size of the Allen before you begin actually turning any of the bolts. The first thing I'm going to do is attach the handlebars to the stem. That is done with 4 individual 4mm Allen bolts. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my 4mm Allen key and undo these so that I can put the handlebars into the stem. Now that I've removed the faceplate of the stem, we're going to go ahead and attach the handlebars into the clamp. Just make sure before you do this that your handlebars are in the right orientation. After we've attached the handlebars to the stem, we're going to go ahead and attach the dropper post lever and the brake to the handlebars. Make sure you have the correct tools for this, as it could be a 3mm, a 4mm, or a 5mm Allen key. Now that I have the handlebars, the dropper post lever, grip, and brake lever reattached to the handlebars, I'm not going to tighten anything yet. We're going to save that step for later once the bicycle is on the ground to adjust it to your specific preference. Next, we're going to go ahead and install the front wheel on this bicycle. Now, broadly speaking, there are two types of axles on a bike: through axles and quick release skewers. A through axle, differing in diameter and length depending on the type of the bike, a through axle bolts into the wheel directly and threads into the fork of the frame. A quick release skewer is a narrow skewer that passes through the wheel. The fork and the rear wheel of the frame have open slots, or called dropouts, at the bottom, which sit over the axle of the hub. The skewer is fixed in place using a nut on one end and a threaded part on the other. Once the skewer is threaded into the nut, the lever is used to add final tension, clamping the frame onto the axle of the hub. Closing the lever should require enough force to leave a mark on the palm of your hand. If it seems too difficult to close, loosen the nut a quarter turn at the time so that you can close the lever. Make sure the wheel is in straight, because misalignment in the dropouts can cause the brakes to rub. If the bike has rim brakes, check the orientation of the front wheel by locating the rotation/direction arrow on the sidewall of the tire. If the bike has disc brakes, lightly grease the through axle threads before inserting it into the fork and wheel. To install the wheel on this bicycle, I'm going to have to remove the through axle that is currently in the fork with a 6mm Allen key. Remove the axle and the extra protector that might have been given to you during shipping. Your bicycle also might come equipped with a brake spacer in between the brake pads on the caliper. Go ahead and remove that before inserting the wheel into the fork. Next, you want to make sure that the wheel is in the correct orientation before inserting it into the fork, with the rotor on the same side of the fork as the caliper. Slide the through axle through your wheel and begin to tighten. Once your wheel is snug, refer to the torque setting on the end cap of the axle to ensure it is at its proper tightness. If your bicycle came equipped with a quick release wheel, you're going to receive the skewer separately. A few things to keep in mind when installing this skewer. Pull the end cap off, locate the two conical springs, and make sure they are in the correct orientation before inserting this into your bicycle. They should be big side to the outside of the quick release, little end facing the inner portion of the skewer. Next step is to inflate the tires on your bicycle. If your bicycle is tubeless, it has come with sealant already injected into the tires from the shop. If it is not tubeless, it will already have tubes installed and you simply need to put air inside of them. When inflating your tires, locate the suggested pressure from the manufacturer on the side of the tire. Make sure not to overinflate. Now, your bicycle may or may not have come equipped with pedals. Pedals come in many different designs and need different tools to install them. Anything from a 15mm wrench to a 6mm or 8mm Allen key. When you're installing your pedals, please ensure that you have the correct tools for your specific pedals. Pedals are also directional. These pedals happen to have a sticker for right and left. You can also locate this on the top of the threads for your specific pedals. They usually come equipped with an R or an L, indicating one goes on the right side of the bicycle and one goes on the left side of the bicycle. For clarification, when talking about right and left side of the bicycle, right side is the drive side of the bicycle, where all of the gears are located, and the left side of the bicycle is the opposite side, or the non-drive side of the bicycle, where the gears are not located. Before inserting your pedals into the crank arms on your bicycle, ensure that you have put a little bit of grease onto the threads of each one. After you've tightened the right pedal onto your bicycle, go ahead and repeat the same procedure for the left pedal. Only remember that this pedal is opposite threaded, so it tightens to the front of the bike, or lefty-tighty. Next, we're going to adjust the seat height and the handlebars last once the bicycle is out of the stand and on the ground. If your bicycle did not come equipped with a dropper post, make sure that you loosen the clamp bolt with a 4mm Allen key and adjust the height according to your personal preference. If your bicycle did come equipped with a giant dropper post, a couple things to keep in mind. It is equipped with a housing that runs internally through the frame, so if you are raising or lowering your seat, be mindful that the cable will move through the frame, upwards and downwards. When you have selected an appropriate height for your seat, tighten down the clamp with a 4mm Allen to the correct torque spec. The torque spec of your seat collar will be located on the side of the clamp. This particular collar is a 5 Nm torque spec, so I'm going to go ahead and torque it properly. Torquing your seat collar is of the utmost importance when you're at this step, especially on high-end road bikes that come equipped with a wedge-like system. Over-torquing the seat post clamp can have serious implications for your bicycle and can lead to cracks or mechanical defects. Once you have torqued the seat collar bolt on your seat post and it is at the correct height for you, double check that the 2 bolts on the bottom of the seat post are tight and secure. This is done with a 5mm Allen key. Once your seat is at the correct height, the last step that we're going to do is tighten all of the handlebar bolts and mount the braking system and dropper post and the grips where we actually want them to be. First thing I'm going to do is make sure that my handlebars are in a position that I like. We did not torque them at the beginning of this video, so I should be able to move them freely back and forth. Ensure that they're in the center, indicated by a couple of lines on the handlebar. Once they are where you prefer them, go ahead and tighten the 4 bolts on the stem plate to the proper torque. This is 5 Nm. After the 4 bolts on my stem plate are tight, I can move on to the grips, the brake levers, and the shifter. The brake lever also will be either a 4mm or a 5mm Allen key. Please make sure that you're choosing the correct tool for your specific brake levers. Last is going to be your grips and your dropper post lever. The dropper post lever is going to be a 3mm Allen key. This is torqued to 1.6 Nm. And last on this bike is the grips. This is also going to be either a 2.5, or a 3mm Allen key. Now we've already set up the brakes and the gears before shipping this bicycle to you. However, give the bike a final safety check and make sure the gears are indexed and shifting smoothly. In the case of a mountain bike with compression forks and rear shocks on full suspension bikes, you will need to set the sag on either or both of them. Please refer to the links below in this video for specifics on your individual fork or shock. Thanks for joining this video. We really appreciate your purchase from Giant Las Vegas, Giant Henderson. Go out and have a blast on your new bike.